Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking what is usually a super dry glossary of marketing terms, and, well, we're going to build a dynamic, step-by-step machine. We're going to show you exactly how a business acquires customers, taking all that theory off the page and putting it right into practice.
Okay, let's dive into this. The ultimate mystery, right? Because marketing isn't just a random list of buzzwords you throw at a wall hoping something sticks. When it's done right, it is a deeply logical, highly structured journey from complete obscurity straight to the cash register. We are going to map out that exact journey.
Here's our blueprint for today's explainer. First, finding your perfect audience. Then, the customer acquisition funnel. Third, channels that drive traffic. And finally, measuring what actually works. Let's get into it.
Phase 1 is all about finding your perfect audience. Because look, before we can go out and find strangers, we need to know exactly which strangers we actually want to talk to.
Think of this as the rule of shrinking circles. You always start with your TAM, the total addressable market. That's everyone who could theoretically buy your product, the whole donut. Then you narrow that down to your SAM, your serviceable addressable market. That's everyone your specific product actually serves. But here's the thing, the most important metric by far is that tiny sliver in the middle, your SOM, the serviceable obtainable market. That is the realistic slice of the market you can actually capture right now. Investors might absolutely love a massive TAM, but as a founder or a marketer, you've got to calculate your SOM with brutal honesty.
Now, within that obtainable market, we have to define our ICP, or Ideal Customer Profile. This isn't some vague category. It needs to be incredibly concrete. Like, your ICP shouldn't just be small businesses. No, it should be something like 10 to 50-person Indian direct-to-consumer brands doing over 50 lakhs a month in volume. See the difference? It has to be specific enough that if a lead comes in, you can instantly filter them in or out based on that exact definition.
So a really crucial point here is understanding the difference between your ICP and your persona. While your ICP is that concrete company profile we just talked about used to filter leads, your persona is the named semi-fictional buyer inside that company. Think of her as, say, founder Priya, who cares deeply about execution speed and doesn't have the budget for extra engineering headcount. You use the ICP to target the company itself, but you use the persona to tailor the exact messaging that Priya is actually going to read.
And once you've found Priya, you have to answer her biggest unspoken objection. The literal second Priya sees your brand, her brain is instinctively asking, why should I use this instead of doing nothing, going to a competitor, or just building it myself?
The answer to that question is your value proposition. It's a single, razor-sharp sentence explaining exactly why a customer should choose you, and that dictates your positioning, which is the specific claim you make about where you sit relative to all those other alternatives. Are you the fastest way to achieve a goal? Are you the solution that doesn't require Priya to hire a massive data team? This positioning must be completely locked in before you write a single word of marketing copy.
Moving right along to Phase 2, the customer acquisition funnel. Now that we know who our perfect audience is and exactly what our positioning is, how do we reach them and walk them to a sale?
We use a funnel. That is the path the person takes from never heard of you all the way to paying customer. It's always drawn as a shrinking shape, and there's a very practical reason for that. Inevitably, most people are going to drop off at each progressive stage of the journey. Your job actually isn't to stop the drop-off entirely, it's to manage it efficiently. So we break the funnel into top, middle, and bottom, or TOFU, MOFU, and BOFU. Top of funnel is all about awareness. This is your high-level blog post grabbing Priya's attention. Middle of funnel is consideration, so maybe a detailed comparison page or a case study that builds trust. And bottom of funnel is decision content. Think of a pricing page or a free trial designed to literally force Priya to take action. You absolutely have to match the content to the stage. If you try to use a pricing page to educate a total stranger or a blog post to close a complex sale, it is going to completely underperform.
And if we zoom in on just a single landing page or a single email within that funnel, we structure it using the old but gold item model. It's a rapid sequential formula. First, you must grab attention, then build interest, create desire, and finally, prompt an action. It's basically a micro-funnel happening right there on the screen.
All right, Phase 3, channels that drive traffic. We have our audience and we have our funnel built. But look, a funnel without fuel is basically just an expensive piece of modern art. Let's look at the channels that pour traffic in.
The core difference in effort and philosophy here is massive. Inbound marketing means people find you. You create great content, optimize for SEO or run ads, and they come knocking on your door. Outbound marketing is the exact opposite. You find them. This is your cold emailing, your cold calling, and your direct LinkedIn outreach. Pre-sales almost entirely lives in this outbound space.
Similarly, we have a massive contrast in how you actually close the deal once the traffic arrives. In product-led growth, or PLG, the product itself is the engine. The free tier, the self-serve sign-up, the in-product upgrade prompts, they do all the selling for you without a salesperson for those smaller deals. Contrast that with sales-led growth, where a human being must personally step in and close every single deal that comes through the door.
As we fuel the machine, we really have to choose our acquisition channels carefully based on our resources. Organic channels like SEO are incredibly slow to build, but once they compound, they are wonderfully cheap per unit. Paid channels, like Google or Meta ads, are lightning fast to start, but they cost you money every single day, and the traffic stops the literal second your credit card bounces. Then there's referral, or word of mouth, like a give $10, get $10 program. This is the absolute cheapest channel when it works, because the hardest part of marketing, which is trust, is already pre-built by your existing customers.
To support these channels, we use specific strategies. You generate demand through broad category awareness, getting people interested in the actual problem, not just your product. You nurture those audiences with content marketing. You can use community-led growth to build trust in places where people already gather, like Reddit or niche forums, which is amazing for early-stage SaaS, by the way, because you don't need existing website traffic. Or you can scale your search traffic massively using programmatic SEO, where you generate hundreds of pages from a single dataset just to capture that long-tail search demand.
But if we want to talk about true scale, we have to talk about this. Unlike the linear funnel we looked at earlier, a growth loop is the absolute holy grail. It is a self-reinforcing cycle where just using the product drives acquisition. Think of a billing software where every invoice you send to a client has a tiny Powered By logo at the bottom. The recipient sees it, clicks it, and boom, becomes a lead. It's beautiful because it compounds organically without requiring a single dime of new ad spend.
Finally, phase 4, measuring what actually works. We've built the machine, we've poured in the fuel, we've got traffic moving, but how do we know if this strategy isn't just burning cash? Well, we look at the dashboard, starting with our conversion rate. This is the core metric of the entire machine. It tells us the percentage of visitors who actually complete a target action, whether that's signing up, purchasing, or booking a demo. And it's fed directly by the click-through rate, or CTR, of our ads, our search results, and our emails. Pretty simple. If they don't click, they can't convert.
But a click isn't cash, and not all leads are created equal. To ensure team alignment, we track the conversion from MQL to SQL. So an MQL, a marketing qualified lead, is someone marketing thinks is a good fit because, say, they downloaded a white paper. An SQL, a sales qualified lead, is a lead that sales has actually vetted and confirmed is worth their time. If the conversion rate from MQL to SQL is low, you've got a major problem on your hands. It means your marketing and sales teams fundamentally disagree on what a good lead looks like, which means they are probably fighting in the break room right now.
We also rely on attribution. This is the process of figuring out which specific channel or touchpoint actually caused the conversion, so we know exactly where to double down on our budget. But a quick word of warning here. A modern buyer like Priya might touch 5 or more channels: a blog post, an ad, a LinkedIn post, a webinar, and a direct search before she finally buys. Because of this, early-stage teams should really track attribution directionally just to spot trends, rather than obsessing over perfect mathematical accuracy.
And what happens when things go wrong? Well, we look at the bounce rate, the percentage of visitors who hit your site and immediately leave after viewing just one page. If a page is designed to persuade someone to take action, but it has a sky-high bounce rate, it almost always signals a message match problem. It means your ad or your search result made a promise that your landing page completely failed to deliver on.
We have just traced the entire logical journey from total stranger to paying customer. We've built the machine. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up today's explainer. Look critically at your own business strategies. Ask yourself, are you just blindly executing a list of disconnected tactics to fill a leaky funnel? Or are you truly engineering a growth loop that will eventually scale itself? Because the difference between the two is absolutely everything. Keep learning, keep building, and I will see you in the next explainer.